Hi, I'm Fergus O'Dwyer. The topic of my PhD is language and identity in a Dublin suburb, and I'm being supervised by Professor Bettina Migga. So I'm aiming to finish my PhD thesis at UCD in early 2018. My general field is sociolinguistics, which is sociolinguistics basically examines the link between language and society and culture. So think of regional variation in dialects, for example. PhD projects in sociolinguistics often involve small-scale projects working with groups the researcher can easily access. So my particular interest always has been sports, and in particular the national sports of Ireland, hurling and Gaelic football. So I chose to conduct an ethnographic study in my local club. So first I spent a lot of time in the club observing typical interactions, and then I went on to record one-to-one chats or interviews, and also recording people in daily life settings like playing matches or talking about matches together in social settings. So that made up my linguistic data, along with lots of qualitative data about the speakers, speech situations, etc. Identity in interaction is at the centre of my thesis. So what I mean by identity interaction or interaction identities is, for example, when you're talking to somebody in a conversation, some points you may be bossy or sometimes you may be friendly, so you may change the way you position yourselves in an interaction. So that's the sort of thing I'm trying to get at. And also because I'm looking at a male-only sports club or sports teams, I'm looking at how the identity is performed in male-only settings. So basically I aim to interpret patterns of variation. I look at pronunciation and humour, for example, to see what type of patterns there is and to see how they are related to the social element of interactions. And I examine what type of interaction identities are recognised by people in the club and the wider area, and then how people use certain linguistic and social practices to negotiate their alignment with or disassociation from salient identities. I first analysed the social space from several perspectives, ranging from the macro, looking at historical and cultural issues, and then maybe I went on to collect primary data, as I mentioned it before. The following emerged to be salient in this case. Typical linguistic behaviour or dominant types of talk. You had information talk where people are giving information, and then there's more social talk. So you could see different types of talk that are found in the club. There's often two interaction identities, as I mentioned. That's the centre of my focus, and I've often found there's an authoritative identity where people are kind of assuming they have lots of knowledge in comparison to me, for example. Then you have maybe a tough identity where they're trying to be tough and trying to get one over their interlocutor, for example. Other things that came out, there was three linguistic variables. There's the price lexical set. So, for example, in words like right, how that's pronounced. There's also word final T, and there's also the use of humour. The main findings of my study that are that a high and front price, which will come to something like Rui. So something like that is often used with a tough interaction identity. Then you have maybe a backed and lowered price token, which is kind of something like right, something like that. You can hear the difference between Rui and right. So the second one there is often correlates with an authoritative identity. So when people are claiming more knowledge, they will use a kind of a right variant. The second was the word final T, and one in particular you have like a glottal variant, which is kind of Rui. You don't really pronounce the T, where the second one is a fricative, like Reish. You kind of extend the T and you fricate it. So that's often linked, that Reish, particularly at the end of a sentence, is often linked with authority or authoritative interactional identity. And finally, humour is often used in the club, and I found two types of humour. The first one being a collegial type of humour, kind of a friendly type of humour, which creates and maintains solidarity between club members. And there's also a kind of an edgy kind of humour, which is kind of the underlying message is kind of like, I'm stronger than you. So that type of humour. And I described that, and qualitative discourse analysis plays an important role in exemplifying my results. So I'm currently writing up the research, and the PhD and the related publications will come online as a result. You can also find the links in the final slide which we put on the screen here. Thank you very much.